Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. On behalf of the URI Foundation and Alumni Engagement and the Women's Leadership Council, I'd like to welcome you today. For those that don't know me, my name is Mary Carnes, and I am an Assistant Director in Alumni Engagement. I'm honored to be part of the Women in Leadership Speaker Series today, a program that showcases the inspiring careers of highly successful and influential women and provides the opportunity to share their knowledge and experience with students and alumni. I want to thank those of you who have participated in the past and have returned to us today as we kick off this new year of speakers. And I also want to thank those of you who may be joining us for the first time. We hope you'll return for future speakers. Before we begin today, I'd like to take a moment to highlight the Women's Leadership Council. This group, led by a larger group of alumni volunteers, the URI Women's Leadership Council supports and enhances the personal and professional growth of URI women by cultivating meaningful relationships to unite, celebrate, empower, and learn from each other while forming lasting connections and relationships in our community and even beyond. Additionally, the Women's Leadership Council supports and promotes the Women Transforming Women Endowed Scholarship, a scholarship that is awarded each year to a woman-identified student who holds a leadership position and maintains a GPA of at least 3.0. About today's program, we're very excited. This session will be a question and answer style between our featured speaker, Tracy Santos, class of 2024, and our host, Mary Beth Riley McGreen. While you're listening to the program, please feel free to write your questions into the Q&A. And if time allows, we'll spend some time at the end to answer your questions. And please note that we may not be able to get to all questions today, but we will certainly try. I'm now excited to introduce you to our host, Mary Beth Riley McGreen, who many of you may know from some of our past speaker events. Since arriving at the university in 2017, Mary Beth's focus has been as a digital content strategist, and she has been able to create content that positions URI as a top-tier research institution with global reach, while also elevating historically underrepresented voices. Mary Beth advises the universities, college, and departments on strategic thinking about their web content and produces creative briefs that help guide their projects. Mary Beth is committed to advancing the university's goals regarding equity and diversity and has completed diversity, equity, and inclusion programs as both a staff member and a student. She is the author of 3 books on Rhode Island history, and off hours she mentors local high school students and runs a free creative writing group for teens. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in English from the College of Holy Cross in Worcester. Mary Beth, thank you so much for joining us again today and for hosting this program with us. And I'm going to now turn the program over to you and our guest, Tracy.
Well, welcome, Tracy Santos. Tracy is class of 24 and is an honors student studying neuroscience at the university. Welcome, Tracy. I thought we might start today with your telling us a little bit about your military career and how, tell us your recruitment story.
Yeah, sure, of course. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you all and thank you for giving me the platform to speak today. I appreciate that greatly. So my recruitment story is actually a funny one, I guess. So being from New York, obviously in lower income community, it was very difficult for me and my family. I had a single mom, and I was not headed in the right direction as a teen. And my mom kind of gave me that ultimatum, and she was like, "Hey, you're gonna have to do something. I don't know what it is, but you're gonna have to do something, because what I won't do is have you out here being a fool in these streets," right? So thinking about that, I remember going to school one day, and this was back when, I don't know if they do this now, it's been like 10 years, back when recruiters could go to your high school. And I remember going to 6th period lunch and seeing all these recruiters stand up. There was, Navy, Army, Coast Guard. And then I saw a Marine standing there, and I saw those dress blues, and I was like, hey, I want to look like that. If I have to do something, I want to look like that. And I remember getting the information. I was still 16 at the time, and getting the information And I remember, and I remember, looking at my mom and saying, I want to be a Marine. You told me to do something. I want to be a Marine. And my and my mom looked at me. She's like, "Hey, I told you to do something. I didn't tell you to do that." She was like, "I wanted you to do something. I didn't say that." She's like, "Marines? Are you sure?" So, I think at first it was really difficult for my mom, and it was difficult to understand that that's what I wanted to do. But with time and seeing the achievements and how I've grown as a person, she's so proud. And I think one of the biggest achievements for her is saying, my daughter's a Marine. So
Had you had before that fateful lunch lunchtime decision, had you been thinking about a career in the military, or was it more impulsive than that in the moment?
no, so I was not thinking about the military. I didn't know what I wanted to do in high school. Like I said, at the time, I wasn't really on the right path. I didn't think I was going to graduate high school, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, I think it was a thing of impulse. I saw this tall, tactful, just the demeanor of this Marine. I was like, oh, okay, Mom. I was like, you want me to do something? You want me to do something? I was like, if I'm gonna do anything, it's gonna be that. So, that's it was really in the moment, and sometimes I think back on it, and I'm like, I even surprised myself. I'm like, man, I really did that.
Mm-hmm. And so, would you say that the military provided you with the motivation that you needed to finish high school? Then that must have been a condition, I imagine, of being in the service.
Yes. So absolutely. After I knew that, I'm committed and this is something that I want to do, it did kind of motivate me to be back in the classroom, stop skipping classes, try to bring up the grades that I did have, try to bring those up and graduate, because without that high school degree, I wouldn't have been able to enlist.
Mm-hmm. Would you take us through what happened after graduation? So now you're enlisted. Where did you go, and maybe tell us a little bit about some of your career highlights in your to date?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So I ended up leaving that summer. Uh, so I wasn't supposed to leave until the end of the summer,
Mm-hmm.
and once I signed that paper, the Marine Corps was like, "No, you can leave. You can leave right now." So I ended up, yeah, I ended up going to boot camp. I think it was maybe 2 weeks after I graduated, so I didn't get to, have fun in the summertime as a grad, which was probably a good thing. I'm a firm believer of everything happens for a reason. So I ended up leaving that summer. I'm a Paris Island Marine. So I went to Paris Island, went through boot camp, I graduated. And then I guess to speed things up, when I first entered the fleet, it was to HMLA 369 was my first unit. And that's a light attack helicopter squadron. So it's Hueys and Cobras. So I was in aviation, and it was an amazing experience. I guess just summing it up to the highlights of my career, what kind of stuck with me and meant the most to me was probably becoming an NCO, so becoming a corporal sergeant, and watching my Marines grow was the biggest thing for me. So, I had these 17, 18-year-olds coming in who were just trying to figure things out, which I was in their shoes at one point, trying to figure things out, to, becoming men and women with unquestionable characteristics, to distinguished leaders, was amazing for me. And no number of awards or recognition could probably amount to that.
In terms of, going from high school where your time is scheduled, to the military, to the Marines, where your time is scheduled to a far greater degree. What was that transition like for you in terms of having, relative freedom with your day? how did it, maybe you could describe a day in the life of a Marine.
So a day in the life of a Marine. So, I mean, I believe it's different for all of us. You know, I think I have some Marines actually tuning in right now who would probably be like aviation, like yeah. But yeah, um, but you know, a day in the life of a Marine is really, you know, dependent on the unit as well, and what you do within that unit. But for me, it was coming in probably 6 a.m., maybe sometimes earlier than that, 5 a.m., to get some like aviation reports ready, and good to go for the day. Who's flying today? What, you know, codes are they getting today? Getting all that established, as well as sending hours out to see what we've done prior, because our commander wanted to see things like that. So our lieutenant colonel and everything like that wanted to see things like that. But it's pretty structured, especially in the aviation unit where you are scheduled the night before from ops, like, you know, what you're going to fly the next day. What are you going to be doing on that flight? For the most part, it's pretty structured, to the very end of the day, you know, where if things need to get done, you're staying until they're done. That's the biggest thing. So, you know, that could mean late nights. Obviously on deployment, that changes significantly.
Mhm.
But you know, our days are pretty structured. You have a job, you know what that job is, and you're there to do it. And you're gonna get it done.
Mhm. And you mentioned, you know, having a I'm going to put words in your mouth here, but empathy for 17 and 18-year-olds who came in after you, who you had charge of. What lessons did the Marines teach you about leadership, and how did you apply them with new recruits?
So I think the biggest thing, you know, with leadership, especially with having these brand new Marines coming in that are 17, 18, this is their first time away from home, for a lot of them, and to be thrown into like this new, you know, career path, this new atmosphere, was that, you know, as a leader, you should always want to inspire passion and motivation. You know what I mean? In whoever you come across, whether those are your Marines, other Marines, those below, higher than you, a leader inspires passion and motivation in everyone they meet. And your job is really to provide support and tools to ensure that the mission gets done. That's, you know, that's your job as a leader. But something as you go on, especially achieving those higher ranks, you start to learn that learning and being a leader is constant.
Mhm.
So learning is a constant thing, you know, and that's something that you start to learn early in your military career, in any leadership position. Really, is that learning is constant. You fail, you know, you adapt, you try again, and you keep doing that until you succeed. It that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned, and that I've tried to instill in those under me and above me.
Mhm. And certainly those are lessons that are not certainly translate into life in many other permutations. I think about what you've just said about leadership and learning. So maybe this is a good segue into your decision to enroll at the university. Could you talk a little bit about um, what you are doing at URI and your motivation for it?
Of course. So I came to URI because there came a time in my military career where I was asked to reenlist. And I said no. That I wanted to pursue higher education. And I knew that if I would have stayed in the Marine Corps, knowing the kind of leader that I am, I wouldn't have focused on my educational careers doing
Mhm.
stuff. So I said no to the reenlistment, and you know, I miss the Marine Corps with everything that I am. I miss my Marines, but I'm glad that I'm here because it does feel like I'm right where I need to be. Um, I'm, the Student Veteran Organization president here. And just that alone, I've been able to meet so many different veterans and so many different people, and kind of help them transition into what is now higher education, from the mistakes that I've made and the things that I've learned throughout the transition. So, that's kind of how I got here.
Mhm. And though you are now a student, what you are studying is directly related to your time in the Marines. Not well, what you intend to do with what you're studying is directly related to veterans. So you're studying neuroscience. Can you talk a little bit about the why of that and what your long-term plans are for your degree?
Yeah, of course. So I am currently studying neuroscience here. Shout out to the interdisciplinary neuroscience program here at URI. You're all amazing. Now, yeah. So the reason why I wanted to study that is because I wanted to have a focus on PTSD and depression in veterans and military affiliated people. The reason why I want to study that, I said I would, we talked before, and I said that I'm 100% okay with being vulnerable, is because and many other people probably experienced this, if, they're veterans on here or people with military affiliated people, is I've lost too many friends. Sorry, to PTSD and suicide. Unfortunately, there are still phone calls that a lot of us get, of people that are still in the military, saying, hey, this person you served with, this person you've deployed with, that you've created this relationship with, this family member, decided that they couldn't do it anymore. And that's hard. So what motivated me to take on this challenge of being a neuroscience student is the sheer love that I have for veterans and military affiliated people. It's just that's what's driving me, really, because it is difficult. Transition is difficult. Being an adult learner is difficult, but there is nothing more powerful than figuring out your why. And for me, that's what it is. Is figuring out how I, as someone who is still here, still able to live through the things that I've gone through. How can I be of assistance to those that are struggling right now, with the platform that I have here at the University of Rhode Island?
Well, first, I just want to say I my sympathies to you for the friends who have become family who you have lost.
Thank you.
I know a little bit about the transition, how difficult the transition can be for veterans. Could you speak to a little bit to that, to the mindsets, and maybe educate us all a little bit better about how we can do better as a society, as a country, in supporting our veterans in small and large ways?
Of course. So talking a little bit about my transition to higher education after service, it was a very long and painful transition, hard transition. Unfortunately, at the time, there was not an established center for student veterans, military affiliated students here at the University of Rhode Island, and I wasn't aware of any other veterans that were on campus, where I was able to find resources, disability help. I honestly didn't know where to go. It was day one and I was already drowning, my first day of class, the first day stepping on campus, and I had no idea where to go or what to do. I guess if I can put it into words, right, the feeling is that we all know what it feels like, right, to have what we would say like our group, right, our tribe of people with you know, like-minded people, and you're just like, this is where I'm supposed to be. These are my people, right? I guess for student veterans, we know what it feels like when it's all ripped away.
Mm.
So now we're navigating this new life, this new space, without a community, without a sense of community, and it feels like we're going through these changes, these significant life changes alone. We're going through imposter syndrome, you know, and I feel like the older that you get, the harder this is. You know, a joke that we have in, you know, the military community, especially for student veterans, is, you know, when we step in the classroom and we sit down, we're like, you know, one of these things is not like the other, you know, and then it's us, right? We're the thing, it's us. And you know, it is a struggle, and when we find that within our community here, once we make that community, we are able to talk to other people who are experiencing these things, and we laugh about it, and it makes it that much easier. So if there's anything that as a community, as you know, as institutions of higher education, of higher learning, it's having a space for veterans to meet other veterans, and not only that, but a place of advocacy, resource, and community. Those are the three big pillars with me, right? Is a place of advocacy, resource, and community, is where we start, you know. And you know, I feel just over the moon that we were able to start something like that here at URI with the MAVE Center, with the integration of the SBO, because that's exactly what this is supposed to be. And that's what was lacking at first, you know what I mean? And what's usually lacking for most or institutions where, you know, student veterans are dropping out, or they're not going to classes, or there isn't that place to create that community, or a place where they can go to find those resources and things like that within their institution. And that's very difficult for a student veteran.
Mm-hmm. So advocacy, resources, and community. Tactically, what does that look like? What are you, in your role as president, hoping to achieve and put in place in a relatively short amount of time, because you will be leaving URI, you'll be graduating in May. So what's kind of on your mind and pressing in terms of your legacy?
So for me, you know, as president, when I was, you know, running for president, the biggest thing for me was bridging the divide between students and student veterans.
Mm-hmm.
So not just a community with, you know, within veterans, but having the ability to expand that outside of these walls here, which is the MAVE Center, the SBO Center, and make that transition that much more comfortable when you're in that classroom and you're like, hey, you know, hi, oh, I remember you, you're, you know, and starting to bridge that divide. I think there still is a negative connotation, unfortunately, with veterans, with saying I'm a veteran. A problem that I'm starting to see is that some veterans won't even identify once they come into a higher learning institution that they're a veteran. And that's a problem, because that is a huge part of who you are. That is part of your identity, right? You've done this for so long. It's, you know, it's part of you, you know, and you shouldn't feel like you have to hide that. So for me, it's really what I'm doing now, as SVO president, is really trying to have events with other organizations, have them experience who we are as people. Something I can say is I haven't met a veteran yet that doesn't want to experience college just like anyone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they want to have that college experience, I want to go to clubs. I want to have friends. You know, I want to have study groups with the people that I go to class with. I want to experience those things, you know. I wanted, you know, when I wanted that, there was times, you know, it's 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm looking at the stars. I'm like, man, I can't wait to go to college. You know, there were times that I had that, you know, and it was because of experiencing that college community, you know. So that's definitely something that's big for me, is creating that veteran community. But outside of that, making sure that student veterans, they feel like they have a community within their institutions is very important as well. You know, I have students that don't show up to class. I've met students that will have literally been on the verge of dropping out because they're not creating that relationship, you know, because as a student veterans, there's only so much we can do, right? You know, you'll come in here, you've had a hard day, you're like, hey, it's, you know, it's been a lot, and you laugh about it and you talk about your experiences and how hard it is to be, you know, a veteran with all these 17-year-olds, you know, and you joke, but you really honestly, there's not one of us that doesn't want to be your friend, you know. So that's what I'm trying to do now, as you know, as SVO president, is create that community, not only within, you know, veterans, but outside of that as well.
I can see the awkwardness. I mean, if I were 17 and someone at that point in time in my class were a veteran, I for myself, I can say I would definitely feel like, what do I have to offer that person? Like, I haven't done anything other than go to high school. And I'm not asking you to speak for all veterans. I know you cannot do that. But when you said that veterans, some are reluctant to even say they are veterans, can you give us any further context around that? Is it not wanting to have everything turn into a political conversation, or what? Do you have some thoughts about why it is that some people may, in a college setting, want to downplay aspects of their history in that way?
I think that may be part of it, you know, that, oh, now, you know, you think all I can give you is just a talk of politics, or, you know, things like that. I think a lot of it might have to do with kind of what I mentioned before, the negative connotations that follow us, or follow the word veteran. And unfortunately, that's still going on now, you know. Oh, you're a veteran, you've been to combat. Are you like broken? Are you gonna have like, you know, you're gonna break my neck if I say hi to you? Do you have PTSD? You know what I mean? How many people have you killed? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
things like that, you know, that still happens. You know what I'm saying? And I think there's a lot of veterans that they just don't want to deal with things like that, or maybe they've, you know, been somewhere else, or community college before this, or an event, whatever the case is, and they've experienced that what comes, that negativity that may come with saying you're a veteran, and they're just like, nope, I'm not doing it, you know. And I think something that we can also do as an institution is learn about these things, right? Because if I wasn't on here and I wasn't telling you about that, how would you know that this is occurring to student veterans, or occurring for veterans at all, you know? So I think even having trainings, you know, where you know, faculty can learn how to what it might mean to have a student veteran in their classroom, or even for students, you know, what does it mean having a student veteran in your classroom, or among you, you know what I mean, or in this institution? What is it to have these student veterans in these spaces, so that, you know, we can better assist these veterans and do better with making them feel comfortable. You know, I hear a lot of talk about, you know, military friendly. We're military friendly this. We just got that word for military friendly. But that doesn't mean anything if you're not military inclusive, right? You know, if you're not really taking the time to learn about who we are and take care of us, what are we doing? And those are just the important questions to ask. Like, what can we be doing as an institution? What can we be doing now? What am I lacking? You know, when it comes to the student veteran experience, what is, you know, so things like that, and we can mitigate that with communication and understanding and training. Things like this can get better. I understand that takes time, but we all have to start somewhere, right? So it starts with us 100%. But going back to what you asked, I think that's I think that's why some people rather just not even say it.
Fair enough. So I'm going to characterize you this way. I know you to be a modest person, so I don't know if you're going to you're going to characterize yourself this way, but I look at some of these, pivotal events of your life where, I'm surveying the room and I'm going to join the Marines. I'm going to go to college and I'm going to study neuroscience. Not exactly easy paths taken. How has it been to study neuroscience, not only from a person who has, said, I wasn't, the most diligent student in high school, and then to have a decade's break from the classroom, to choose neuroscience, to me, former English major, is like my nightmare. It's like, it is my nightmare scenario, actually. My nightmare is going into my physics class, not having studied all semester long. So I'm curious for you, in terms of your experience, how has it been to study neuroscience, even with the most, one of the most amazing stories of motivation I've ever heard? How has it been to take on something as formidable as the discipline that you've chosen?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I have to applaud the University of Rhode Island, because the caliber of professors, I mean, there hasn't been a class that I walked into and I wasn't like, wow, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I had to applaud URI for that. I mean, I have such amazing professors and instructors that, I have taken the time to even, meet and get personal with, and that have just been amazing, and have helped me along the way. So I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without just the amazing professors taking their time with me. And the wonderful IMP students. So I think something that's really great about the neuroscience program here at URI is that it's almost like we formed a cohort. Something I started realizing is that, the students that I saw last semester are students that I'm seeing now, and that's made things very comfortable for me. And because of that, I've been able to make these connections and these relationships with some of my classmates, and that's been amazing as well. Because again, that falls into like that sense of community, and it does make things a little easier for me. But it's been, it's neuroscience. It's difficult. um, even with all the amazing teachers and students, it's
Yeah.
difficult, but it's supposed to be. It's not an easy career path. It's pretty hard, but again, it's just really, I'm not only doing this for me, but I really feel like I'm doing this for the people I haven't met yet.
Mhm.
And that, I think, is what's really, really driving it home for me. As a veteran who, again, I'm not afraid to get vulnerable, because the way you reach out, right, is by telling your story, especially to other veterans that are thinking about higher education, is that, I also struggle with PTSD, and things like that. And there are days where, I don't even want to get up from bed. You know what I mean? That I struggle, and sometimes it's difficult to have to message my instructors and let them know, like, I can't make it to class today. You know, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Is very difficult, but again, it's important to me. So I've never been the type of person to give up, and especially for something as important as this, as what this is to me. I really am. I really am doing it for the people that I haven't even met yet,
Mhm.
and the people that I have. I talk to veterans all the time. They make jokes and like, I can't wait to see you. All right, Dr. Santos, and I'm like, hey, the door's always open, right? I just got to get there first. So you know, I'm working and I'm trying, and I think that's something that uh everyone needs to know, is that, you know, as long as you're trying and you get up and you're present, you know, you're doing what you got to do. You know what I mean? It's sometimes the hardest part is just getting there, just getting to class, making it to class. But you know, once you sit in that seat, that's already half the battle. You know, so yeah. Sorry.
No, don't know. This is great. So just to clarify for anyone who may have missed it, you did allude to what your larger plan is, and that is to go to medical school. So mom's gonna have a Marine and an MD.
We praying for it. My
Um,
mom. Yeah.
So are you in that process now of you know, kind of looking at different medical schools and what you MCAS and all of those types of preparation that you have to do to make yourself you know, a candidate for medical schools? Is that all happening now too, in addition to everything else going on?
Yes, ma'am. I am in the process of, you know, studying for the MCATs, as well as trying to figure out, you know, what medical school is going to work best for me and what I'm trying to do.
Mhm.
In the future, and that's, you know, work at a VA hospital, with veterans and military affiliated people, and helping them with their struggle of, you know, PTSD and suicide. So yeah, I'm currently uh, trying to figure that out right now in the midst of everything else that we got going on here. But it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. You know what I mean? So I'm
Mm.
very excited. It's a lot of work, but it's exciting. You know, I can almost see the light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
So you know, I'm really excited. And I have, oh my goodness, I have so many people behind me, so many mentors, friends, family, so many wonderful people holding me up right now, and I'm just so grateful. So it's a lot of work, but you know, we're doing what we got to do to get where we need to go.
Hmm. One thing that always happens in these conversations is we touch upon volunteering and philanthropy, and that sense of giving back in whatever form it takes. Could you talk a little bit about, and you know, our whole conversation up to this point is really informed by your, you know, by your compassion and I would say service leadership seems to be your default. But can you talk to us a little bit about the importance of giving back to you?
So giving back is incredibly important to me. I mean, it can make all the difference, right? Something I do, you know, to give back to the student veteran community. Obviously, I'm a student, so maybe not financially, but you know, something that I do is I remember what it felt like when I stepped on this campus, and it felt like I had no one. And I told myself I will never let another student veteran walk on this campus and feel that.
Mhm.
So, you know, I do things like, you know, my wonderful e-board here at the SBO will in the summertime just do veteran like orientations. We'll have them walk around the campus. This is where disability services is. This is where, you know, Nancy Pendergrass is. You know what I mean? This is her
Yeah.
number. Kind of like a veteran intake, to make sure that when they first step on this campus, their first day of classes, they feel confident. They know where the MAVE Center is. They know where to find the SVO. They have this on Discord. They know that there is a community behind them as soon as they step in here. And that's all volunteer work. That's all SVO e-board, other student veterans. That's all the wonderful work that they're putting in to the student veterans that are coming in here, and hopefully taking those traits to the next level of wherever they go, whether that's a company, grad school, med school, that they continue to be those trailblazers and the pioneers for other student veterans that are in these spaces that we're usually not in, you know, to let them know, hey, we're here. So things like that, and that can make all the difference of someone coming to school another day, someone deciding not to take their life. It's important, you know. You never go up a step and not reach your hand down to bring someone above you. You always do that, especially in the veteran community. We take care of each other, and we want to continue to do that because it does make the difference. And I've seen it.
You just said that it's been a community of people who has brought you to this moment, and that motivate you to move in the direction that you're already headed. I'm curious about, and this can be, your answer could be a story about a friend, or was, someone who was in charge of you at some point, a teacher. What advice have you received in your life that has really powered your decision making and affected your own leadership style?
That's probably the easiest question you've asked me so far. So probably the best advice that has shaped me as a leader, as a person, as a daughter, as friend, is I've never learned anything while talking. And that's it's as simple as it gets, right? I've never learned anything while talking. Sometimes you need to give that other person the space to speak so you can learn, so you can grow from their experiences, from what they've already done, from what they're trying to tell you, what they're trying to express to you. You don't know it all, right? But if you don't stop talking, you'll you'll never learn. You'll never learn, So that's probably one of the biggest things, especially like as a leader. I think sometimes we get lost in the fact that I've been doing this. I know what I'm doing. Do this because I told you to do it. It's been 10 years, but especially my Marines have taught me, like, hey, Santos, have you tried to do it this way? And I'm like, what do you mean, devil dog? And but that's really been big for me, especially shaping me as a leader, and just overall as a friend, as a mentor, as a mentee. You can really apply that to anything.
Has there ever been a person who you respected, or it doesn't even have to be that, but a piece of advice that you've said, yeah, thanks, no thanks to?
Thanks, no thanks. Oh man, I try to be the type of person that I'm open to everything. But I guess something that I was hearing, especially when it was coming towards that end of my contract, was realist. You're doing amazing things here. You can continue to do amazing things here. Realist. And I'm glad I didn't take that advice. Again, I love, my beautiful Marine Corps. But I'm glad that, like we talked about before in the beginning of this, I really do feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And there are times, again, going back to imposter syndrome, where I'm like, it must have been luck. How did I get here? I look to my left, to my right, these students, just, I'm not supposed to be here. How'd I do this? And then there are times where I have student veterans come in and they're like, Tracy, I am struggling. I'm just like, I hear you. What can I do for you? And we mitigate that situation. And that student veteran is ready to go back out there and do whatever it is that they came here to do. And that alone has just let me know, like, Tracy, I know you have those days where you're like, I'm not supposed to be here. But that was just a reminder that you're right where you're supposed to be. So probably, yeah.
That I think you've said so many powerful things thus far, but that to me is one that is universally applicable. This idea that the assumptions that we make about a person, because if I knew if we were in a classroom together and I knew your background, again, my position would be, what do I have to offer? Because to me, I would feel like you had the least chance of imposter syndrome in the room because of all that you have already accomplished. So it really is a wonderful lesson in being vulnerable, taking a chance with someone, ignoring presumptions, and actually trying to take the moment to know somebody and to connect with someone in the moment that you're in, as opposed to judging someone without talking to them, but just on the basis of all that you know of them that's brought them into this moment of time with you. I want to make sure that we leave a few minutes for questions from the audience, and we do have a few to get to. But one thing I like to ask everyone that I talk to is if there is something that we didn't get to that's very important that we know about you. It can be about leadership or anything else. Or if there's something that you really want to underscore, something that you're like, I can't stress how important this is, that you know this thing. So I just want to give you that opportunity.
Thank you for the opportunity, because I know there are a lot of fellow student veterans that decided to hop on this and support me. And if you're listening, which I hope you are, and this can be, for everyone else as well, you are right where you're supposed to be. No one was there during your application. No one was there, during that job interview or whatever amazing thing that you're doing. You did that. And you are right where you are supposed to be.
Thank you for that. So this question comes, it's a comment from MJ Harrison. Tracy was my student in her 9th and 10th grade year. I cannot express how proud I am of Tracy. I wish I could stay on, but I have a class to teach in a few minutes. I always knew she had something special in her, such an inspiration. McCaskey proud, Gomez.
Yeah, that was, she was a driving force for sure in high school for me. So thank you, Ms. Gomez. If you see this recording again, wow, for her to be on this, wow. Sorry.
Oh, that's wonderful. And what did she teach?
She taught science.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, she was my bio and science teacher. So yeah, I remember always, going to her classroom whenever I had the chance. I would just sneak in there. I was going, please let me stay in your class. She's like, no, you got class. Go to class right now. And I'm like, oh no. So wow.
That's nice. Oh, this is from Kathy O'Donnell. Thank you, Tracy, for sharing your story with us, figuring out your why. So powerful. And I'm so glad you have figured it out. How is the SVO connecting with employers who are focused on hiring veterans? That's an excellent question.
It's an excellent question. So luckily, we're getting a new director here who is going to be able to implement those connections. We also have Kasim Yarn come down here and also give us wonderful resources. Usually during career fairs, there are certain career recruiters that are up there, and usually we'll go up there and be like, hey, do you have anything special for veterans? And a lot of times they're like, wow, thank you for asking. Here's this card. This is for our veteran outreach team and member, so slowly we've been, able to start bringing those contacts in. I've been lucky enough, again, to be go to SVA NatCon, so the Student Veterans of America, their national conference. I've been to their regional summits, and again, the Leadership Institute. And there they have these huge networking events where I'm able to take all of that information from this one huge national conference and bring that back to my chapter, and disseminate that information. So we're making it happen. Hopefully with our director, we'll get more Rhode Island, jobs in this center here. So thank you for the question. Thank you.
Another not a question. It's not a question, but I want to say how proud I am of Tracy, my family and I, how proud of Tracy, my family and I are, and we love you so much. My son looks up to you so much, and I am so grateful. That's Charlene J. From the amazing Michelle Fonts. I am so proud of you, Tracy. What is something that you think the staff in the Mave Center should know to help support you with your endeavors and with the Student Veterans Organization?
So mostly for Mave, again, we're just starting off, and we're just kicking the boots off, but I think we're doing all the right things, especially by staffing it with student veterans, because that's super important, right? Someone that we can go to and be like, hey, I know what you're going through. Actually, oh, you have this problem with your GI Bill? I just experienced that. Let me point you to the right direction. So things like that, have been absolutely amazing. And hopefully what the Mave Center can do now that it's officially a center at the University of Rhode Island, is definitely will come together. And what I want is that sense of, like all the other centers, of I don't want us to be a silo. I want there to be that intersectionality. I want us to connect with all the other centers, because being someone myself that falls under like 4 different centers, that's important. And a lot of our veterans come in here and they fall into different centers, and I want them to be able to explore that. So hopefully with this new center, this Mave Center, we can create those connections with the other centers that are available here at the University of Rhode Island, and be able to, give that well-rounded experience to that student veteran that's coming in here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah, Michelle Fonts had a postscript too. It says, please shout out our Veterans Day event, and that our new director is starting next month as well. And I know you touched on that. Yeah. Do you want to talk for a moment about the Veterans Day event?
I'm sure. Yeah. So the Veterans Day event will be on the best date known to man, which is November 10th, Marine Corps birthday, URI, if there's any Marines out there. So it will be November 10th. It will be in the quad. We are going to start putting flyers out there, so people can RSVP. We're going to have so many amazing speakers, and amazing tables out there of resources for veterans and students alike. And our theme is going to be the achievements of people of color in the military. So I can't wait for that. And I hope that all of you can attend, be a part of it, or just stop by, and show some support for your fellow student vets here on campus.
All right. This is from Jen Stitch. As a person who, it seems like, made a sudden decision to join the military, and being mindful of the imposter syndrome discussion, were you surprised when you were pushed forward towards leadership? Looking at you now and not knowing you, you project as totally in command of yourself and your situation. Thank you for the work you are doing for other student veterans.
Thank you for that. This is why I do it. I do it for you. I do it for everyone who walks through that door, and people that don't even know that they want to walk through that door yet, right? So if I haven't met you yet, I hope you come down to the Mave Center, Memorial Union. But with that, it took a lot of time to sit there and look at myself and be like, I am supposed to be here, and I don't want you to think that this happened overnight, and I don't want you to think that it goes away, because if I'm being completely honest with you, it doesn't. And there will be a time where I'm in another position, in another place, and I'm going to have to go through that process again of, am I supposed to be here? Am I meant to be here? Was this luck? And we all have to go through that. I think a place to start is definitely going to be talking to yourself, taking those moments to be vulnerable with yourself, and and just sit there and be like, I'm supposed to be here, because if not me, then who? If not me, then who? Why are you where you are right now, right? Finding that why are you where you are right now? If not you, then who? And then think about everything that you had to go through and everything that you've done to get to where you are right now.
Wow.
You are right where you're supposed to be, friend.
I know Mary's coming on. This is just from Professor Wayant, Director of the Interdisciplinary Program, and your NEU 320 instructor. Thank you for your kind words about the IMP. We are proud to have you in the program. My question, given your personal and professional experience with PTSD, what type of neuroscience research would you like to conduct if you had all the grant money you needed to complete the research?
Leave it to my neuro teacher to ask me a question like that. She's like, okay, Tracy. Spotlight. You know, that's a question I'm asking myself every day. You know, especially with the wonderful teachers that I have that make me, you know, ask myself these questions. Where do I want to go from here? And I think what I want to focus on is, you know, I've been reading research papers about like DNA methylation and how trauma changes DNA structures and everything like that. You know, I'm again still learning. And I think my focus of research would probably want to be that is figuring out, because I think with healthcare, especially with the VA and VA hospitals right now, is that we're still struggling to bring together the physical and the metaphysical. And I think that's getting in the way of veterans getting the help that they need and the percentages that they deserve for their mental health, what they're going through, their mental health conditions. So what I want to do is be able to pretty much stop, you know, if I had all the grant money in the world and, you know, being as ambitious as I want to be, stop like suicide in its tracks.
Yeah.
And however I could possibly do that. And then getting the VA on board with the fact that people are struggling. Trauma does change your brain, you know, your brain. This is not some kind of outside of the body condition. Give veterans and military affiliated people the percentages and the help that they deserve because of these conditions. Stop making it so hard, you know? So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, both Tracy and Mary Beth. This was unbelievable. And Tracy, I'm sure I speak for the audience in saying just how impactful and meaningful your story is. I found myself, my eyes tearing up a couple of times. So, you know, figuring out your why and putting those words together in that phrase is just so important to the way we live our lives and how we put together our own stories. So, and that message you gave about you are right where you're supposed to be, that just, that is so important for us to internalize as human beings. To those of you who joined us today, thank you for joining us. As I said at the beginning of the call, this event is the first of the series for this academic year. Our next program is going to be on November 15th, and we will feature Professor Talani Olagundoy, who is a clinical assistant professor of youth leadership and is the director of the 4-H Youth Development Program for the URI Cooperative Extension. So again, that'll be on November 15th. Probably in the coming hours, you'll receive a survey about this. Please let us know, share your thoughts. Let us know if you have ideas for future speakers. And I'm sure that we value your feedback. Tracy, thank you. Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure to get to know you. Over the past couple of weeks, I've had the honor of joining you and Mary Beth on a couple of Zoom calls to get to know you, and now I just want to see you in person. So let's make sure that we do that in the coming days. And thank you so much for your time and so much for your thoughts and your wisdom. So we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone who joined in the wonderful questions, and thank you for giving me the platform to share who I am and what I'm doing.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining.